that you can count on. Fox 30 Action News at 7 begins with breaking news.
And you are taking a live look here this morning from our DOT traffic camera network in North Jacksonville at I-95 and 295. That is where a fatal accident happened around 3 o'clock this morning, and we now have learned that a 22-year-old woman was the victim. We're told she ran off the road and slammed into some trees. Welcome to Action News this morning at 7. I'm Lindsay Gardner.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dawn Lopez. We are following multiple breaking stories for you this morning. We begin with Action News' Derek Odom tracking your alternate routes around that fatal crash in North Jacksonville. Derek?
Yeah, this crash happened around 3 o'clock this morning as we take a live look at 95 and 295 on the north end of town. 95 southbound, the ramp to 295 westbound was blocked off for about 2 hours because of this crash, and it caused a little bit of a slowdown for traffic leaving that airport area trying to get onto the West Beltway. That ramp has opened in the last 20 minutes, so traffic is starting to flow a little bit through that area. No major backups there. It did cause you to tap your brakes, but you should be able to get through that area, no problems. You see the travel times really in both directions leading on 95 to the airport, and from the airport you are delay free now in that area. So smooth right now, but it did cause some problems earlier, and of course had that ramp blocked off. Our Jesse McDonough is live on the scene right now to let you know exactly what happened there on the north side. Jesse?
Derek, I'm about a mile west from that ramp. Now, they just reopened that ramp about 15 minutes ago, and FHP did tell me that it was a 22-year-old woman who was driving alone, and for some unknown reason, she veered off of that ramp and slammed into a tree. She died at this scene. Now, here's some video from the scene just 15 minutes ago. That is her vehicle that they are towing away right there. FHP investigated this crash. They were out here since about 10 after 3 till about 15 minutes ago because these fatalities take a while to investigate. Again, this is on the westbound ramp to 295 from I-95 southbound ramp. So this ramp closure did affect traffic coming from the airport. Police are not releasing the name of that girl just yet because they are notifying the family. Reporting live on 295, Jesse McDonough, Fox 30 Action News.
Jesse, thank you. Another hot and humid day on tap with some scattered showers. First Alert meteorologist Garrett Beatenbaugh is tracking if we're going to see some rain when the Jags kick off tonight for their very first preseason game. Garrett.
And right now on First Alert Doppler HD, we're not finding any rain to slow you down for your morning commute, but we could be seeing some of that scattered activity with those storms this afternoon and into the early evening, right around the time you'd be tailgating or heading inside the stadium across Duval County here. We could be seeing some of those scattered storms this afternoon. Hopefully it'll be to the west with that sea breeze, but some of those storms could venture in towards downtown. You want to keep an eye on that. 79 degrees the current temperature at Ferdinand Beach, 74 at Jacksonville, 75 at St. Augustine, and at 77 at Brunswick, 74 in Folkston. Hour-by-hour forecast for today. Hot by lunchtime, 90 degrees for the temperature, feeling like the mid to upper 90s with that heat index. Scattered storms for this afternoon, topping out in the lower 90s, back to the upper 80s with some of those storms, and even cooler lower 80s if you get under one of those nice heavy downpours. So we'll be tracking those storms hour by hour for you. The Jags preseason forecast for this evening and the next 7 days, where your weekend is always in view. That's coming up here in just a few minutes. Ladies.
7:03, our team is following more breaking news coming out of Jacksonville's west side, where a mother was shot multiple times overnight.
Action News' Aliana Gomez has been there at the scene since 4 this morning. Aliana, you just got an update from police, but you also spoke with the family who talked about how she tried to get away from her attacker.
Yeah, well, the family is speaking only to Action News and tells me they're just relieved that their mother will pull through. Now, we're told a woman in her 50s was shot inside her home on the 2700 block of West 1st Street. JSO says the shooting happened around 2 a.m. They didn't have much information on how this all went down, but the family tells me they believe she was the target of a burglary. The suspect or suspects shot the woman multiple times in the torso, allegedly stole an entire jewelry box and fled. The family believes they know how the suspect got in and out of the home.
That's what it's looking like. They went through the window, possibly came through out the front door.
JSO processed the scene this morning. It looks like there may have been some fingerprints on the door, but right now we know that the suspect is still at large. Once we have more information, we'll bring it to you. We're live on the west side. I'm Aliana Gomez, CBS 47 Action News.
All right, thanks, Aliana. It's 7:04. Also breaking this time in St. Johns County, a woman somehow slams her car into this home. The crash happened on West King Street in St. Augustine around 3 in the morning. Police say that this out-of-control car barreled right through a fence and then slammed into a house that's under renovations. Because it's under renovation, no one was home at the time. The driver was taken to a nearby hospital. We're still waiting to hear how the driver is this morning.
And our final breaking story this morning is coming out of Arlington, where Jacksonville police are investigating after a man was shot in the back while walking down Atlantic Boulevard. Investigators say the victim did not know who shot him and also would not cooperate with officers at the scene to provide any kind of description about the gunman. The victim was taken to a nearby hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
Earlier this week, one Iraqi in the area cried to the world, "There is no one coming to help."
And with that, President Obama announced 2 military operations in Iraq. First, he says the military will drop meals and water to 15,000 members of a religious sect known as Yazidis. Fighting in northern Iraq has forced them to run from their homes. They're now stranded on a mountain surrounded by militants who are threatening to kill them if they don't convert to Islam. The president also authorized targeted airstrikes in the region that's been taken over by those militants. On Thursday alone, ISIS fighters claimed to have captured 15 more towns, a military base, and the country's largest town. The president says airstrikes could keep ISIS from taking over Erbil, where some 150 American military advisors are operating right now.
7:06 new this morning, the World Health Organization has declared the Ebola outbreak in West Africa an international public health emergency. They say it will likely sicken more people than all previous outbreaks combined. The disease has already killed nearly 1,000 people. The CDC says the current outbreak will take up to 6 months to end under the best case scenario. Diplomatic staff and their families are leaving the U.S. Embassy in Liberia's capital.
Researchers with the University of South Florida are giving details now of their historical research at the Dozier School for Boys. They've identified the first set of remains found there at the school. They say he's 14-year-old George Owen Smith. He was buried there more than 74 years ago. Official records show 31 burials, but researchers found the remains of 55 while excavating a graveyard behind the school last year. Former students have given accounts of alleged physical and sexual abuse dating back to the 40s. We spoke with a former student who says it was like a prison.
They would take and put their knee in the back of your elbow, and they would bend your arm up and twist your arm and just keep twisting your arm, and you hollering and screaming saying it hurt, and they still doing it.
The school has been shut down for 3 years now. Researchers plan to spend the next year, they say, still looking for the truth.
There is new insight into July's deadly crash on the Buckman Bridge that has sparked an investigation into the design of that heavily traveled bridge. The Florida Highway Patrol says a 22-year-old driver clipped the back of a pickup truck last month, forcing it over the side and into the St. Johns River. 911 calls reveal what drivers saw and the final desperate moments in the life of the driver, 48-year-old William Maddox.
Oh, I just know a truck went off the bridge.
What do you mean went off the bridge?
I mean, a pickup truck flew over the barrier into the water.
Black truck?
Black pickup truck.
And it flipped in the river?
Yeah, the guy's out, though. He looks like he's swimming.
William Maddox did make it out of his truck, but he still drowned in the water that day. His body was found a few hours later. The other driver, Andrew McFun, has yet to be charged as the Florida Highway Patrol continues to investigate.
Right now, a special session of the Florida legislature is underway in Tallahassee. House Speaker Will Weatherford there gavelled in the session into order Thursday morning. And this is what they came up with on the first day. The existing district is on the left, and on the right is a proposed map that changes Representative Corrine Brown's Congressional District 5. Now, the big change, a slice of Putnam County here moves into Congresswoman Brown's district from Congressman Ron DeSantis' district. The work will continue today. May. When lawmakers do finish, there's still the question of whether the maps will go into effect before or after the November election.
7:09, you can turn in your unused and out-of-date medications here this weekend. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office is hosting a drug take-back event. It's happening at the Avenues Mall on Saturday. It runs from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon. There will also be safety activities for the kids.
New since 6, tomorrow more than 200 sailors on board the USS Taylor will return to Naval Station Mayport. The ship is returning from a 7-month deployment. This is video of the previous homecomings back in 2012. And this is the final deployment, by the way, for the USS Taylor, which will be decommissioned next spring.
Now, your weather and traffic on the ones.
And here's your bus stop forecast for this finally Friday. Mid-70s, a muggy morning here. That mugginess will continue on into the afternoon with highs in the lower 90s. It'll feel like 100 to 105. But if you're heading out to the beaches, southwest winds 15 knots. This will change to the southeast later on today. High tide, we just had one. Next low tide is 12:31 this afternoon. Seas 2 to 4 feet. Now, if you're on the beaches today, trying to get in some sun before school starts, for you in Putnam County, say on Monday, 1 to 3 feet. So head to the beaches there today, and you'll get some nice weather. 86 for the surf temperature. Hour-by-hour forecast, lower 90s today. Feels like 100 to 103. Scattered storms. We'll track them all here in just a bit. At 7:11, here is Derek Odom with your first alert traffic.
Traffic alert number 2 in the Safe Touch Security First Alert Traffic Center. If you're heading southbound to St. Johns County, take a look at this. 95 at Racetrack Road. Left lanes are blocked there. In the corner of your screen, you see a car against the guardrail there. Looks like it's ran into the guardrail. There's the crash is southbound and debris spread over into the northbound lane. So this is 95 southbound at Racetrack Road. You can see the backup behind that. So big delays there. US 1 will be your alternate route southbound. It is affecting northbound traffic as well as they clear off that debris. So another alert heading southbound towards St. Johns County. That is the very latest. Remember, if you're in your car, tune over to News 104.5 WOKV for the latest traffic updates. Dawn?
Thanks, Derek. At 7:11. New this morning, Israel says that it's resuming strikes on Gaza in response to rocket fire just as a 3-day truce has ended. That ceasefire expired at 8 a.m. local time Friday. The Israeli military says militants in Gaza fired more than 18 rockets in southern Israel. Israel says that 2 rockets were intercepted, 14 hit open areas, and 2 came back down in Gaza. Hamas says an agreement was not reached to extend the truce during peace talks in Cairo. The Israeli government says this latest rocket fire breaks, quote, the fundamental promise of the talks.
New this morning, Russian bombers are inching closer to U.S. airspace, and they are doing so more frequently. This is according to a report in the Washington Times. The newspaper says Russian nuclear bombers similar to these flew along northwestern U.S. air defense zones 16 times over the last 10 days. At one point, an intelligence gathering jet was spotted near Alaska. U.S. defense officials are keeping a close eye on Russian activity as the crisis in Ukraine is causing our relationship to deteriorate.
New this morning, the VA says that it was not accurate about the number of veterans who died waiting for care. The department initially said it reviewed 250,000 cases dating back to 1999 and found 23 veterans died. But now the department says it actually reviewed less than 5% of those cases, and it only looked at cases between 2010 to 2012. Leaders in St. Johns County say the local VA clinic has until the end of the day to accept a new building that they could construct for them very soon. We were told on Tuesday county leaders committed to building a new clinic next to another county building that's already under construction. The building's contractor says that he can go ahead and build as a part of the current construction. 5,000 veterans use the St. Augustine Clinic every year. That clinic has to close because Lowe's is taking possession of the building.
Former NBA #1 draft pick Greg Oden is out of jail this morning following his arrest on battery charges that he punched his ex-girlfriend. We have video of him heading into jail Thursday morning. He bonded out hours later. Police say they were called out to Oden's mother's home in Indiana. That is where they found a woman laying on the couch with a swollen and bloody face. A friend of that woman told police that he had punched her. The former Miami Heat player is facing misdemeanor battery charges. For the second time this week, a homeless California woman has been arrested for trying to sneak onto a flight. Marilyn Hartman was let out of jail on Wednesday when she was caught taking a plane from San Jose to Los Angeles. Well, she made made it past security but was arrested when that flight landed. Then on Thursday, police say she tried to board another plane right there in Los Angeles, making it her 6th arrest as a stowaway. She told police she feels more comfortable in airports than in homeless shelters.
This morning, a 9-year-old Florida boy is recovering after being bitten by an 8-foot alligator. Well, that boy was swimming in a restricted lake in St. Cloud when that gator bit him several times. The child was somehow able to get away. We're told the wounds aren't that serious. Trappers are now searching that lake trying to catch the gator.
A Tampa church canceled a funeral with only a 24-hour notice after finding out the deceased man was gay. It left his loved ones scrambling to make new arrangements in the midst of their grief. The family was at the wake for Julian Evans when the mother got the call from the pastor who was to preside over his funeral the next day. He says his church members alerted him to Evans' obituary printed in the newspaper. That obituary started Kendall Capers as a widowed husband.
Regardless of our background, our sexual orientation, how can you wait that long and put somebody in a bind when they're going through their loss?
The church's pastor says members of his congregation called to complain. He says his church preaches against gay marriage.
The Internal Affairs Department is investigating a Miami SWAT team after they raided the wrong home and allegedly injured 2 children inside. We have to warn you, you may find some of the images graphic. Well, late last month, the SWAT team stormed inside of this house. You'll see it coming up here. A 12-year-old and a 13-year-old boy were the only ones inside. The family released these pictures showing the teen's bloody head. He says that he was in the kitchen when the police came in telling them to get down. As he was looking for a place to lie down, we're told, an officer allegedly hit him in the head with the end of his rifle. The younger boy was visiting from Georgia and was sleeping when police came into the bedroom.
They thought I was trying to refuse to go over there, so they punched me in my eye, and that's when I got my foot unstuck, and they snatched me out of bed and took me outside.
Who punched you?
The police.
Again, the boys, only 12 and 13 years old. They were not arrested or charged with anything. Miami police say they did find drugs and weapons inside the home when they went in for the raid. Your health and safety, it's why state health inspectors make surprise visits to local restaurants, and it's why we bring you the original restaurant report.
This morning, our Romney Smith checked the state inspection reports to give you the facts.
This week, one restaurant was temporarily shut down because of roaches, and the owner, an Action News viewer, says he wasn't surprised to see us. I visited Sonny's Real Pit Barbecue in St. Augustine and got a good look inside the kitchen after inspectors found 13 violations, including live roaches, which forced them to temporarily close the restaurant. The owner explained the cause.
There was a piece of equipment in the kitchen that was not used, and so unfortunately it got overlooked. And when it got overlooked, we left the door open. We accept full responsibility for the actions that happened against us.
Murphy says he jumped on fixing that problem immediately.
We've been working with our pest control company several times already this week on both this store and the US 1 store to assure us that this will never happen again.
Ole Mexican Restaurant on Atlantic Boulevard had 26 violations, including food temperature violations and live small flying insects. Hong Kong Chinese restaurant on Monument Road received multiple warnings from inspectors because of temperature abuse for both hot and cold foods. Reporting in the studio, Romney Smith, CBS 47, Fox 30, Action News.
And to see all of the restaurants written up for critical violations and to see our Clean Plate Award winners of the week, go to actionnewsjax.com, click on the Action News Investigates tab, and then Restaurant Report.
New since 6, the Atlantic hurricane season will be even quieter than predicted. That's according to federal forecasters. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration still expects 3 to 6 hurricanes to form during the season that peaks from right now through October. Of that forecast, 0 to 2 of those hurricanes will be major storms.
Now, your first alert forecast. Jacksonville's most accurate.
The climatological peak of hurricane season, September 10th. So we're not there yet. First Alert Skycam network over Fernandina Beach looking just fine here this morning as we take a look at First Alert Doppler HD. Scanning the sky, not finding anything in the form of rain except along the Gulf and the Big Bend. We'll be seeing some scattered activity for today. We'll get to that here in just a few minutes. But first, let's track the tropics for you, the West Pacific or the Eastern Pacific Ocean. You can see 2 tropical cyclones out there right now. Here is Azelle impacting the Big Island of Hawaii. Hawaii. Tropical storm Iselle, downgraded from a hurricane. So the record still stands for not having a hurricane impact or make a direct landfall for the Big Island, as it is now a tropical storm. 60-mile-per-hour maximum sustained winds, about 30 to 40 miles offshore still with that. Hurricane Julio still out there as well. Maximum sustained winds, 120 miles per hour. Look at that impressive satellite imagery there with the eye, a big old eye there for today. And here are the tracks. You can see as we go throughout the next couple of days, Julio will stay to the north, possibly as a Category 1 hurricane, but still off to the north of Hawaii, and Iselle going off to the west. But it's impacting right now. In fact, let's take a look at the radar that's right around Hawaii right now. We can take you there with First Alert Doppler HD. You can see the outer bands making their way onshore now. Well, slowly. There's around the center right there until that center part of the center gets onshore. That's when we'll call it a landfall, but some heavy wind going right now and some heavy rainfall. Flash flood warnings and flood warnings up for portions of the Big Island right now. 79 degrees, our current temperature at Fernandina Beach. Hour-by-hour forecast for today. We'll be going here at home to the lower 90s. And then we'll be seeing some possible heat index values as well. 100 to 105 degrees, depending on where you are, and into the overnight back down to the 70s. So hour-by-hour forecast with our storms today. This sea breeze will be a factor, and then it'll continue on inland, hopefully around Highway 301 or westbound, because the Jags, obviously, preseason game tonight. But as you see here, we could be seeing a few storms here and there. So you'll want to have the First Alert weather app with that interactive radar with you throughout the game, plus the severe weather alerts in effect if that does happen. Hour-by-hour forecast for Duval. You can see some of those storms going around here this afternoon, so we'll continue to be monitoring that here in the First Alert Weather Center. Bucks versus Jags again. We'll be starting off in the upper 80s down to the lower 80s by the end of the game. So let's take you through the next 7 days where your weekend is always in view. We'll be in the lower 90s tomorrow as well. Here we go. You can see here 91, 92 Saturday, Sunday, scattered storms as well. Monday through Thursday, we continue that scattered trend with those storms and temperatures into the lower 90s. You can get this forecast anytime. ActionNewsJax.com. It's 7:21.
Right now, we're following breaking news in the Safe Touch Security First Alert Traffic Center. Another traffic alert for you. This one, 95 and Racetrack Road going southbound. You see the police and the road rangers blocking off the lanes. That is the left lane southbound, and an FHP trooper in the median there northbound. Crash happened on the southbound side. Looks like a car struck the guardrail there, so they've got those left lanes blocked off, and it hit the guardrail and spread debris over in the northbound lanes. That's why we've seen stopping on traffic on both sides. So slow ride south out of the interchange down the Racetrack Road and northbound. A little bit of onlooker delay as well. You want to jump over to US 1 as your alternate route to make your way past this crash. Of course, we will keep an eye on it for you. That is the very latest. Remember, once you jump in that car, tune over to News 104.5 WOKV for the latest traffic updates. Dawn?
Thanks, Derek. Listen to this. A lockdown at the White House caused by a toddler. It happened last night right before the president gave his statement on Iraq. You had security in a scramble. The Secret Service says the little boy squeezed right through the White House fence, went running, playing, causing quite the commotion. A U.S. Secret Service spokesperson says that instead of questioning the little boy, when he got old enough to talk, they put him in a little timeout. And then they took him to his parents. They have not identified that family.
You can just picture the little curiosity there of a little boy.
Hey, what's the big fuss?
I love it. Well, straight ahead at 7:30, request denied. The hard decision made by Jacksonville City Council and why they say they had to make that choice between balancing the budget and keeping the public safe.
Plus, stalling out the eyewitness account of a fatal plane crash in Nassau County.